In this how-to, I'm going to show you actually how to create a pie chart that would have this type of a layout where you have picture graphics instead of just colored pie chart slices. Wanted to take a minute and remind you that when you do set up your new pie chart, that the first thing is that the pie chart, that the largest amount should go start at noon clockwise and go to the right. That's your largest percentage should always go to the right from 12 o'clock up here. On the opposite side should be your second largest. So it would be on the left would be your second largest. So your two largest would be at the top. Your largest one on the right, your second largest on the left. To do that, you're going to have to go in and create inside of the data itself. It goes down, and what it does is it starts at the top left or starts at the top right, and it moves around clockwise. So you're going to start with your largest, and then you're going to go with your smallest immediately on the list. So if you notice other uses, 6.7 is here. Of course, it converts it to 7. And then you go with the next smallest, or the one that's next or up on size, and then you go to your largest. So as you notice, it goes and it starts with the largest and immediately it drops to the smallest and then works its way back up. So that's what we're going to do. So you'll see me do that in just a minute in this how-to. Now we're going to go in and start with a fresh presentation inside of PowerPoint. And I just want to get rid of all the noise. So we're going to go in here and select each of these text placeholders and delete those. And then we're going to choose Insert. We want to go over and look for chart, and this is where we're going to go ahead and choose pie, and we just want one of the 2D charts, not a 3D. We'll select that, and immediately it jumps over to Excel where we can enter our data. As you remember, we've discussed already that we'll go ahead and we'll put, of course, the title up here at the top first. But as we've mentioned already, we're going to start up at the very first row is going to be the largest piece of data. So once I finish typing this in, we'll go ahead and put in pasture land, and we'll put in the 34.6%. We'll just enter the pasture land up here and put 34.6, and we're just going to continue through the whole table and put in each of those. So the very next one will be the smallest, remember. So we put other uses, and we'll put in 6.7%, and then go with the one that's the next smallest, which is cropland at 29.2%. And then we'll put in woodland at 29.4%. And that's going to put that up in the top left part of the pie chart. So it started at the top and went to the right and followed around clockwise until it came back up to the top at noon. So now let's jump over and go back over to the actual PowerPoint itself after we look at some of these basic information here. As you see, again, each of those areas. That gives us this layout with some generic colors. We're going to select that first one. It's going to be the pasture land and get it isolated. So we'll click it at least twice to get it isolated. And we're going to go up here to the format data point and go to the fill. Under the fill, we're going to go to the picture, and we will choose file. It automatically put it in for us, but let's look at this. We're going to choose file, and I do want you to notice, based on the shape of that slice of pie, it's kind of more of a vertical shape. So if you look, the original picture is more of a landscape, more wide. So it's not going to look very good when we put that in there. Notice how it's stretched. So based on this particular piece of the pie, we need to go in and choose, or kind of what I did was I formatted inside of Photoshop. I took it and I isolated more of a horizontal or more of a vertical piece instead of the landscape format. And notice how that looks a lot better. So I chose to isolate that and make it more of a vertical picture. You could do the same thing inside of Photoshop, or I can explain to you how to do that also even in PowerPoint too. We're going to go in and choose each of the pieces. Of course, we chose the other. And then the next one that shows up here, of course, is whenever we go to File and choose this one, it's going to be the cropland. So we'll go up here to cropland. Now I just labeled each of these so that way I could easily get to them. We'll insert that one, and then the next one's going to be the woodland. Once again, I wanted to show you how whenever you select that on the woodland, you're going to see again that if I put in the one that's the default picture that I chose, it's going to look a little strange. So if you look at the original one, it's wide, it's a landscape. I took that again in Photoshop and I made it more of a vertical photo where it will match up better with that pie and it won't get stretched. So we're going to insert the one that I cropped down. Now we need to go in and work with the legends and the information and put in the data. So in this case, we don't want to have, if you remember what we learned in class, you don't want to have the legend. We're going to put all that information inside of each one of the slides, each one of the slices of the pie itself. So we're going to go up here to the chart, and we've already removed the legend, told it no legend, and we're going to tell the data to be in the center. And you can barely see it because it's black. We're going to select the first one, and we're going to be sure that we get all of them selected at one time. So select one time, and it will select all 4 of those. Now we can go back up to the home and get to the text and select and make it white first of all. And then let's go ahead and make this a size 20. That will be big enough that we can see it well. And we'll go down, we'll kind of knock that back down to a 20 in a minute. We got it at a 24, but we'll knock it back down to a 20. And we're going to go ahead and choose to format the data labels so we can tell it that we want percentage here. And also we want the actual name too of that particular category. So we're going to go in here, and also we're going to turn off the value and just go with percentage, where it gives us the number and the percentage. And we're going to go here and choose the category name. And this format is exactly what I would like to have. We just need to add some shadows to this. Again, the text is just a little bit larger than I want, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it down to a size 20. So it'll look a little bit better on there. It won't dominate. So I'm having to go to each one and select the text box, go back up, change it to 20, and we'll do that with all 4 of these. Once we get that drop down to size 20, then the next thing we want to do is go ahead and make this text shadowed. To do that, I'm going to go over to the text options, and I'm going to get these moved around like I want them, kind of laid out to where they're even with each other, kind of on the same plane. And we're going to move this down so it's not totally covering up the face there. And then we'll get these aligned a little bit better. And get it a little bit to where it's going to kind of be in the center of the slide or the slice there. And now we'll just move the woodland down to match up there. And now we're going to go over and go to the text options. Because we're dealing with text, we have to choose text options. So we're going to go up here and choose text options. And now we're going to go to the shadows. So if you notice, that's the second tab there. And we're going to open up the shadows box. And we want the shadows. We want to come in here and we're going to choose the one that shoots from the top left. And want to make sure that that shadow is completely a black color. And then we're going to drop the transparency to 15% for each of these, meaning that we want it to be a very dark black, so that way it helps accentuate the text. We're going to make the distance on each one of these a 5 and also the blur a 3. So we'll use that same setting for all of these. So we're going to go in and select each one. Again, choose the top left one there that's going to shoot the shadow at that angle. Change it to black, 15% transparency, meaning that it's going to be fairly dark. Make it a blur of 3 and also a number of 5 on the distance. We're going to do that to all 3 of these, all 4. And then we're going to go in here, and the last thing is we're going to pull out that slice, which is going to be the largest slice. And as it's recommended in what we learned in class, is that we're going to pull out just one slice to accentuate the largest. So we'll go in here and pull out that particular slice of the pasture land. So we're going to get the rest of this all set up with the shadows. Again, a blur of 3, a distance of 5, and we have a 15% transparency. Last thing we want to do is go in here and select that slice and pull it out. And then we want to add a shadow to that slice to kind of help it stand out. So again, we're just going to go up and choose the shadow. And this time I want to choose the one that's going to help give us a shadow where it's going to show up that way. So you're going to choose the one in the top right corner, and that's going to shoot the shadow over towards the left and the bottom. And then I want to go ahead and just add a shadow to these other pieces. And that will give us the accent that we need to help this stand out. And then we're going to have a very good looking pie chart here that will stand out a lot better than others. So we're just adding the shadow on each of the pieces. You just go in and select the pieces as you wish and add the shadow. Once we have that done, we may also want to go in and enlarge the text at the top. So we'll go over here and select that text for the title and bump it up just a little bit to make it a little bit larger. We've got the slice out the way that we want it. Let's go ahead now and choose that text at the top, make it a little bit larger. So just select it, go back over again, just like you would enlarge any text. And we'll get it up here a little bit larger. That should be larger than anything else. And everything here looks great. Let's look at how it would look in the slideshow. That's going to look great on your poster.